Dear friends, today we will discuss about synthesis of thyroid metabolic hormone. So objective of today's lecture: synthesis, storage, secretion and basic difference between the T3 and T4, that is triiodothyronine and thyroxine. Basic steps in the synthesis of thyroid metabolic hormone. First of all, iodide trapping. Second, synthesis and secretion of thyroglobulin. Third, oxidation of the iodide. Fourth, organification of the thyroglobulin, coupling reaction, and lastly, storage and release of the thyroid metabolic hormone. So these are the basic steps of the synthesis of thyroid metabolic hormone. So thyroid metabolic hormone synthesis. This is the thyroid follicle. I have enlarged this single cell of this follicle. So this is the whole single thyroid follicular cell. Now this single follicular cell has two membrane, basal membrane and apical membrane. Now this basal membrane before blood, which is near to the blood vessel. So basal membrane is always near the blood vessel, and the apical membrane near the lumen or colloid. Here it is colloid. So two membrane. So you can see here it is a colloid. So these all are the apical membrane, and this one near the blood vessels are the basal membrane. Okay, now first step of the thyroid hormone synthesis, and that is the iodide trapping or iodide pump or sodium iodide symporter. So you can see this NIS or sodium iodide symporter is located on the basal membrane. Basically it is a co-transport of the two sodium ion inside the follicular cell and one iodide ion inside the follicular cell. So it is a co-transporter which moves two sodium and one iodide inside the follicular cell. Now the sodium moves down the concentration and iodide against the concentration gradient. Now when there is a question of against concentration gradient, we must require energy for this pump, this NIS, and energy is derived from the sodium potassium ATPase pump. So this pump is also located on the basal membrane. Here it moves the free sodium from the thyroid follicular cell into the blood and 2 potassium inside the follicular cell. So inside the follicular cell there is low sodium level is maintained, which favor the entry of the sodium by sodium iodide symporter, and it also provide energy to the NIS. Now iodide pump concentrate the iodide about 30 times against concentration in the blood, 30 times against concentration. But when thyroid gland is maximally stimulated by the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, it can raise too high as much 250 times against concentration gradient. So iodide concentration against the concentration gradient between 30 to 250 times. So this is the first step in the thyroid hormone synthesis. Now this iodide from the blood has entered in the cell. Now the second step, here there is a synthesis of thyroglobulin precursor by the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus. They synthesize and secrete thyroglobulin into the follicle. So this thyroglobulin, which is basically a glycoprotein molecule with molecular weight 3,35,000, which contain 70 to 123 tyrosine amino acid, and they bind with the iodide or oxidized iodide to form thyroid hormone. But only 4 to 8 tyrosine amino acid are incorporated into thyroid hormone. So now endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus synthesize this thyroglobulin precursor, and this enter near or in the apical membrane. So this is the second step. Third step is the oxidation of iodide. So now what do you mean by oxidation? Here this iodide with negative charge cannot bind with the thyroglobulin. Binding with the thyroglobulin with negative charge is not possible. So now here this negative charge, or there is a removal of this electron in this oxidation process. So iodide become oxidized iodine or simple iodine. Here there is a pendrin protein which help in this process. We require thyroperoxidase enzyme system, or simply peroxidase, or TPO. We also require H2O2. Remember, here there is antiport. So with each move of the iodide, which become oxidized iodide, that is iodine, near the apical membrane, with single iodide move, there is entry of single chloride inside the follicular cell. So basically it is antiport. So you can see in first step iodide trapping, there is symporter, that means the co-transport. Here step number 3, antiport. Okay, so now we have a oxidized iodide, and that is iodine. So basically negatively charged iodide cannot bind with the tyrosine amino acid till get oxidized. So iodide converted into iodine, and we require peroxidase system. Presence of pendrin protein help in this process of chloride iodide antiport. We required H2O2 as well. Now next step is the organification of thyroglobulin. Simply iodination of the tyrosine amino acid and formation of the thyroid hormone. Basically this thyroglobulin is released near the or at the same site of the apical membrane where there is a oxidized iodide or iodine is there. So it's very near or at the same site. But the problem is that oxidized iodide or iodine bind with the tyrosine amino acid of the thyroglobulin, but very slowly. But because of presence of peroxidase system TPO on the apical membrane, it becomes very fast within second or minute. So binding, or you can say iodination of tyrosine amino acid with the iodine or oxidized iodide in presence of TPO, thyroperoxidase enzyme, is known as organification. So almost as rapidly thyroglobulin is released from the Golgi apparatus or secreted from the apical membrane, the iodine bind with tyrosine amino acid within the thyroglobulin molecule. Now this thyroglobulin attached with the iodine is stored in the lumen, and that is basically a colloid. So colloid is nothing but thyroglobulin attached with the iodine. Now next step is the coupling reaction. Now coupling means 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, that is coupling. So basically tyrosine amino acid bind with the single iodine to make the monoiodotyrosine. Now this monoiodotyrosine bind with the one more iodine to form diiodotyrosine, DIT. When one monoiodotyrosine bind with diiodotyrosine, that is MIT plus DIT, it will make T3, triiodothyronine. 2 DIT combine to form thyroxine or T4, and that is the coupling reaction known. So now in the thyroglobulin we have a T3, T4 mainly. There is also presence of reverse T3, but we are not going to discuss more about the reverse T3. But there is a definitely presence of T3 and T4 and MIT and DIT. But MIT and DIT is major form, that is almost 3/4 of total, and 1/4 is only T3 and T4. Now the storage. So it is stored as thyroglobulin in the colloid. So this is the colloid. So you can see this is a colloid, yellowish one, where there is a storage. Okay. So thyroid gland is unusual endocrine gland having ability to store large quantity of the thyroid hormone. So simply one thyroglobulin molecule contain up to 30 T4 and few T3, and which is sufficient to supply to the body for 2 to 3 months. So in brief, when thyroid hormone synthesis is ceases, stop, its physiological effect of deficiency are not observed for up to 1 to 3 months. Then the sign and symptoms will develop. Now the next step, that is the release of thyroglobulin. Now, or release of the thyroid hormone. Now thyroglobulin not released in the blood, but instead there is a cleavage of the thyroglobulin and release of T3 and T4 in the blood. So the apical surface of the thyrocyte or this thyroid follicular cell send out some pseudopods, just like phagocytosis. So this is the pseudopods. One more protein, megalin protein help in this process. So megalin protein help in this process. So this is a megalin protein and this is the pseudopods, just like phagocytosis. So apical surface send out pseudopods which take some part of the colloid means thyroglobulin, to form a vesicle. So this bluish one is the pinocytic vesicle, right? Now this pinocytic vesicle invaginated and it become part of the thyroid follicular cell. So this colloid droplet enter in the cell by pinocytosis process and merge with the lysozyme. Merge with the lysozyme. Now this lysozyme having a protease enzyme, proteolytic enzyme. Protease enzyme. So this enzyme get mixed with the colloid material which break the thyroglobulin into T3 and T4. T3 and T4, that is only 1/4. And it also break this Tg into MIT and DIT, which are the major part 3/4. So as a result of the protease enzyme which cleave the thyroglobulin of the colloid into T3, T4 and MIT and DIT. Now this T3 and T4, T4 is maximum approximately 93% and T3 is very less, only 7%. Now this T3 and T4 is released in the blood. They are released in the blood, but 99% of this T3 and T4 is bind with the plasma protein, mainly thyroxine binding globulin TBG. So almost 99% of the thyroid hormone is in the bound form, only 1% is the free form. Now what will happen to this MIT and DIT? This MIT and DIT, there is a deiodinase enzyme present which convert this MIT and DIT into iodide, which again join the cycle and goes to the apical membrane for oxidation process. And this tyrosine amino acid comes to the endoplasmic reticulum for the synthesis of the thyroglobulin precursor. So in short, the cycle gets complete. First of all, iodide trapping, then the thyroglobulin synthesis, then oxidation of this iodide, then oxidized iodide, that is iodine, bind with the thyroglobulin, so organification, then coupling MIT DIT T3 T4, then storage in the colloid, then release in the blood, and deiodinase enzyme convert this MIT DIT into iodide and tyrosine amino acid, which are used by the thyroid follicular cell. Further, thyroid stimulating hormone, another name is thyrotropin, which is basically a glycoprotein released from the anterior pituitary, having alpha and beta subunit and molecular weight approximately 28,000. It acts on the thyroid gland to increase the secretion of the T3 and T4. Now, what is the mechanism of TSH? So, after secretion from the anterior pituitary, TSH bind with the TSH receptor located on the thyroid gland, and this hormone receptor complex activate G protein. It has G protein stimulatory effect. It activates adenyl cyclase, which further increase the cyclic AMP, and this cyclic AMP act as second messenger to increase protein kinase, which leads to phosphorylation throughout the cell, which has immediate and long-term effect. Immediate effect is the secretion of the thyroid hormone, and long-term effect on the growth. So half-life of this hormone is 1 hour. Definitely it is a pulsatile, begins 9 p.m., peak at midnight, and then gradually decreases. Rate of secretion 110 microgram per day. Plasma level is only 2 microgram per day. So secretion rate that we should remember 110 microgram per day. Physiological action of the TSH. It has mainly 3 type of action: rapid, intermediate, and long-term effect. First of all, rapid actions, that is the within a 20 to 30 minute. So immediate effect. First, it do pinocytosis of the colloid droplet in cytoplasm. So thyroglobulin in the vesicle. It enhances the proteolysis of thyroglobulin and releases the thyroid hormone from the follicular cell. It increase iodide trapping and stimulate TPO or thyroperoxidase enzyme activity. It also increase the entry of blood glucose into HMP shunt pathway, which generate reduce nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, that is NADPH, which is needed for the peroxidase enzyme or peroxidase reaction. So these are the rapid actions. Intermediate action, it stimulate protein synthesis and expression of numerous genes, including those encoding NIS, sodium iodide synthetase, thyroglobulin, TPO, etc. So this intermediate action requires some more time, that is from hours to day. Third one is the long-term effect, long-term action. It do hypertrophy and hyperplasia of follicular cell. Second, proliferation of blood capillaries and increased blood flow to the gland, that is increased blood flow to the thyroid gland. So these are the long term effect. Hypertrophy and hyperplasia. Hypertrophy means increase in the size of the cell, and hyperplasia means increase in the number of the follicular cell. So these are the rapid, intermediate and long term action of the thyrotropin hormone. Peripheral conversion of the thyroxine into triiodothyronine T3. We are knowing T4 is inactive or pro form of the hormone and T3 is active form of hormone. This reaction is done by thyrronine specific deiodinase enzyme. Now, or simply deiodinase, which is of three types according to its location: type 1, type 2 and type 3. Now this type 1 deiodinase or D1, which is present in the tissue with rich blood supply, so mainly in the liver, kidney and in thyroid. But in thyroid gland it has low affinity, that we should understand. So mainly in the liver and the kidney it converts T4 into T3, and this T3 is taken up by the other tissue. Now this D1 is increased in hyperthyroidism. So D1 is increased in the hyperthyroidism. So more conversion of T4 into T3. Type 2 deiodinase or D2, also known as thyroid axis sensor, present in the brain and pituitary thyrotropes. So there is specific function of this D2 in the brain. They constantly maintain the T3 level by high affinity with the D2 even when thyroxine level is low, and its expression increases during hypothyroidism, but still they maintain nearly constant T3 level in the brain. Now type 3 deiodinase, it is also known as inactivating deiodinase, means it is inactivating the T4. So basically it converts T4 into reverse T3, not in T3 but it converts T4 into reverse T3, and its concentration increase during hyperthyroidism. So try to reduces the T4 level. So this is basic about the deiodinase enzyme, type 1, type 2 and type 3. Now this sodium iodide symporter, NIS, is also found in other tissue or organ, but definitely it is not stimulated by TSH. So which are that site? It is skin, saliva, gastric mucosa, colon, so GIT part, then the placenta, mammary gland, then in brain, choroid plexus and ciliary body of the eye. So NI is present in other site but not stimulated by TSH. After release from the thyroid follicular cell, thyroid hormone in the blood bind with the binding protein, that is binding plasma protein. Mainly they bind with the thyroxine binding globulin, because thyroid hormone having highest affinity for binding with the globulin or TBG. They also bind with the albumin, but here the difference is that high capacity due to its large concentration, because concentration of albumin is obviously high. So high capacity due to large concentration. So we need to understand the difference. If you are talking about the affinity, so highest affinity is mainly with the globulin, but if you are talking with for the capacity, high capacity is with the albumin, as concentration of albumin is very high, right? And third one, some percentage also bind with the pre-albumin, nowadays known as transthyretin. So this is about the binding of the thyroid hormone with plasma protein. Basic difference between T4 and T3. T4 is more stable form, half-life 6 to 7 days, while in case of T3 less stable, means binding with the plasma protein is less efficient and half-life 1 day. So T4 is mainly transport form or prohormone, while T3 is active form, more potent 4 times as compared to T4. Next, T4 unable to activate or sometimes depress the genetic transcription. So sometimes unable to activate the receptor and may depress the genetic transcription. While in case of the T3, bind with the nuclear receptor. Next, T4 is 100% secreted by the gland, while in case of the T3, 20% is secreted by the gland, 80% due to conversion from T4 to T3 by deiodinase enzyme. A latent period for the action for the T4 is 2 to 3 days, while for T3 is 6 to 12 hours. So T3 is quick in action. Peak of the activity for T4, it took around 10 to 12 days, but for some activity it requires 6 weeks to 2 months. While for the T3, peak of the activity occur within 2 to 3 days. So very quick in action for the beginning as well as peak of the activity for the T3. Now the secretion microgram per day, that is for the T4 80 microgram per day, and for T3 it is 4 microgram per day. Blood level 8 microgram per deciliter for T4, and for the T3 it is very less, 0.15 microgram per deciliter. So that's from today's lecture, synthesis, secretion, storage of the thyroid hormone. Thank you. Jai Swaminarayan.